What's up YouTube? Brian here, back again with another video, and today we are going to talk specifically about one bait that I've been using since it came out and I love it so much I just want to make a quick dedicated video on it and talk to you a little bit about how I fish it, which might be a little different than the way most people fish this bait, and that is the Megabass Dark Sleeper. This is a cool bait. We're going to talk about it in depth, and I got some fish catch videos that I'm going to show you guys, to prove you guys I actually do fish. I don't just sit in my basement and talk about equipment. But anyway, first off, I got to do a couple of housekeeping notes. Number one, shout out to Angler Unit on Instagram for sending me this dope t-shirt. I love this shirt. If you are into kind of weird or interesting t-shirt designs based on fishing, you got to check out their Instagram. They have a cool shop. A lot of their designs are very like music and pop culture influence, so shout out to the Angler Unit. Also, you should give a follow to my Instagram because I'm posting a lot of my actual on the water fishing content, including clips of like fish catches and stuff like that on my Instagram, so I will also link that in the description. It is Punch Fishing. Also, another housekeeping note I gotta just touch on really quick is my codes for Omnia are now going to be a one-time use per month. I'm going to have a new code every month, so every couple weeks you're going to be able to get a nice 15% discount on Omnia, but it's not going to be a, just use it all the time code, and that's just it's a change that Omnia is making in their platform for all affiliates. But still, I thank everybody for support through all of my shops I do work with, like Untitled Chapter and Omnia and all of that stuff. So thank you as usual, appreciate it. You guys are awesome. So moving forward, let's talk about the Megabass Dark Sleeper. Now this bait has been out for, I don't know, a couple of years now. Made waves when it came out, and I have fished this bait every year since it came out, and I feel like I'm pretty comfortable in telling you guys about how I like to fish it and how it works for my style and what I like to use for a setup. So now first off, if you're not familiar with the Megabass Dark Sleeper, it is a swim bait, a paddle tail swim bait, but it is much different than that. It's got a lead weighted front end, so the head is very heavy. It's got a hidden hook, so the gills in this bait, the dorsal fin in this bait is actually protecting the fairly large gauge hook that is hiding inside the bait. This is a fun bait to use. This is essentially almost replaced using a tube for me. I used to throw a lot of tubes, and now I don't really throw tubes very much. I kind of prefer to throw the Dark Sleeper. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, this thing does not get that hung up in grass and rocks. This thing comes through cover really well, especially rocks. I very rarely get these things hung up, and if you do get them hung up, they tend to pop off really easily with a good high pop. They usually come out. So tubes, tubes got the exposed hook, and they do get hung up a little more. Also, when fish eat this thing, specifically smallmouth, when they eat this thing, they inhale it. Now, one of the things that you got to understand with this bait is the hook set. So this isn't like your typical swim bait that when you get a bite that you just kind of like lean back and keep reeling to kind of set that hook, like say a Kitech or like a, just a regular swim bait. This one, you got to fish it like a jig. So when I am fishing this bait, I'm going to throw in a couple clips. Maybe I'll throw in one right here on how I fish it. So here you go. There we go. There's one on the Dark Sleeper. Decent one. On the Megabass Brigand. Oh, Stratic FL. As usual. Straight down the throat. Look at that. Dark Sleeper bites. Always jack them right in the top of the mouth. Awesome. Now, if you notice in that fish catch that I really set the hook hard. So when you get a bite on the Dark Sleeper, you really get to lay into them. So you want to fish this bait like a jig. Like you got to think about, you got to get through like treat it like there's a weed guard on this thing. Even though there's not, really slam into those fish, really set the hook hard. Now, the dark sleeper comes in a lot of sizes and colors. There's a 2-inch, there's a 3-inch, there's a 4-inch, tons of different sizes, tons of different colors, and it's a little daunting to decide what to buy. I've tried the different sizes and colors, and I've kind of narrowed it down to pretty much one size that I use for almost 90% of the time, and that is the 3-inch, and my favorite weight in the 3-inch is the 1/2 ounce. So I have a pouch here just full of dark sleepers, and almost all of these are various colors in the 3-inch 1/2 ounce. Now that is my favorite. And here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we don't fish too much deeper than 20 feet, so I don't really go to the heavier baits. I find that the 1/2 ounce is the perfect bait that can go shallow and it can go deep. I can throw this on windy days and still feel the bottom and make contact. So there's occasions where the 3/4 ounce is going to be good, and there's going to be occasions where the 3/8 ounce is good. But for me, that sweet spot is the 1/2 inch. I like the 3-inch size. I'm sorry, the 1/2 ounce. I love the 3-inch size. I think this is one that is just perfect for smallmouth and offshore and in shallow water. Now I know a lot of guys who fish these like to use the smaller, the 2-inch version, which I have right here. This is a 2-inch and a 3/8. I know a lot of people like to use the smaller guy, specifically for dock fishing. I know this bait skips really well. The little 2-incher is really easy to skip under a dock. You can skip the 3-inch, but the 2-inch is just like skipping a little rock. So if you're into dock fishing and you want to try a unique and interesting dock fishing bait, check out the 2-inch. You can skip the 3-inch, but the 2-inch skips just a little easier in my opinion. So a lot of people typically have this little guy for finesse and for docks. This guy is what I use for open water. So these are pretty much the only 2 dark sleepers that I'm running right now. Now, as far as color goes, I've actually found that I've gotten the best action and bites from smallmouth on the natural colors. I know they make like a hot pink and they make a chartreuse and they make some crazy colors in this thing, but this color right here is just the Donko. This one just gets bit by smallmouth all over the place. This is just my favorite color. It's got some gold on the bottom. It mimics a sculpin really well up in these waters. It also kind of mimics a crayfish because it's got that dark coloration. So, you know, if you live in a lake that's got goby, this is going to be that goby color, the Donko. So I tend to stick with the more natural colors. I got some of the more funky colors as well, but I tend to use these because these just get bit. Now, the way I fish a dark sleeper is probably way different than you'll see in a lot of videos or in a lot of other people's setups. I like to throw dark sleepers on a spinning rod. Now, I don't like to use just any spinning rod. I like to use what I would consider like a medium heavy, longer spinning rod. Now, this is the Megabass Brigand. It is rated up to 5/8 of an ounce. The other Megabass rod, like this rod is out of production right now. It is discontinued, so you can't really pick these up. But a rod that's really similar to this is the Levante and Orochi Enforcer. So I'm actually going to leave some links in the description of various rods I think that are going to match this. Like there's some Tatula rods, there's some Kages. Just check the description. I'm going to leave some links to our friends at like Tackle Trap and Omnia where you can pick up some rods that are super similar to the Brigand and will do the exact same thing. Now, why do I use a spinning rod to throw these versus a casting? One major reason. I can make really, really long casts with this thing. So the Brigand is a 7.4. It's a 7.4 4 power. So this is almost pretty much a medium heavy. Now I tend to use a reel that's got like, I like this Stratic FL because it's got the taller spool. So when I have 10-pound line with this Stratic FL with this 7.4 rod with kind of like the little whippy tip, and then you're throwing this 1/2 ounce dark sleeper, I can make insanely long casts. Now when you're fishing for smallmouth like I am, in deep water and very clear water, you really want to get that bait way far out from the boat. And you also want to have the power to set the hook on a tail end of that cast. So that's why I think you should step up to like a medium heavy spinning rod with 10-pound line, maybe even up to, I use around 8-pound fluorocarbon leader, but you could definitely beef up to like maybe even a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader on this if you're fishing around like a lot of rock. So I'd say go with a beefy spinning rod setup. Almost the same kind of setup you would like crack a tube with or tube fishing is what I would go with this. A medium power rod can work, but you're not going to get those really long casts and just thunderous hook sets with like a medium power rod, unless you're got a medium power rod that's rated up to like 5/8. So I would say find a spinning rod that's rated to 5/8 ounce if you're gonna throw these 1/2 ounce dark sleepers. I think that's just the sweet spot. You can absolutely 100% throw this on bait casting. If you're gonna throw this on a bait caster, I would throw it on a medium heavy or maybe even a medium with just like, you know, your straight 12 to 17 pound fluorocarbon. You totally can do this on a bait caster. There's no reason you have to do a spinning. It just fits me personally because I'm fishing a lot of clear water where smallmouth are like grouped up, and you know, I don't want those fish to know that I'm around, and I want to cover a large area with this bait. Now, the way to fish this bait is slow. You want to fish this thing like a jig. I usually typically throw this bait out, let it hit bottom, and if I haven't gotten a bite on the fall, which does happen a lot, I then just kind of hop it and drag it along, give it some pauses, pop it up off the rocks, give it pauses. You can't work a dark sleeper too slowly. Now, what also is cool about this bait is if you live in a lake that's got rock piles offshore and has grass lines, you can just pitch this thing right into grass. You can work the outside grass lines. It's just a really versatile bait. I've caught very nice largemouth on this bait, but smallmouth, man, they love this thing. And when smallmouth eat this thing, it is inhaled. Like, they get it right down their throat, and when you jack a hook set, you're almost always in the roof of their mouth. This thing is just, it's really hard to miss a fish on this bait. If you let them take it for a second and really get it in their mouth, then you can just crack them. So if you want to have a bait, you can just kind of tie onto one rod and have it usable for fishing shallow, fishing grass lines, and then also use it on like offshore rock piles or sandy banks or points, or, you know, anywhere that you just kind of want to work something open water. The dark sleeper is killer. It's just a great bait. They're very durable. The one complaint I have is the eyeballs always fall off after like the first fish. So if you really want to keep those eyeballs intact, I actually would consider ripping them off and then throwing a little glue down on the eyes and glue them yourself, because whatever glue they're using on these things does not last very long. You can get a lot of fish out of one of these baits. These things take a lot of chews. I've had some really beat up dark sleepers that are still rocking. Even if they eat this tail, it's really hard for them to bite this tail off. These are just, I mean, and the other thing too, these are fairly affordable. I think you can get these for about $6 a bait, and the amount of fish that you can catch off one of these is pretty amazing for $6. I've had jigs that get jacked up faster than these things. You know, as far as like getting the skirt goes crazy, or the weed guard gets weird, or all the paint falls off. I mean, these things are just a really good alternative to throwing like a football jig or any kind of like wobble head or, you know, heavy cover jig. So love the dark sleeper. I fish it on spinning. I told you about my setups. Check the link in my description where you can pick up dark sleepers and where you can pick up some rods that are really similar to the Megabass Brigand, which is what I throw. So give this bait a try if you haven't yet, especially if you live in smallmouth waters. Even on the river, wherever there are brown bass, they are going to eat a dark sleeper, and it might, just like myself, it might replace or just bump off the tube from your smallmouth inventory on the deck of your boat or from the bank. Oh, that's the other thing too. If you're throwing this on spinning bank and you're a bank fisherman, I highly suggest this because of those long casts. So if you're on the bank and you're really trying to get your bait out there, try picking up a heavier, like a 1/2 ounce dark sleeper and throw it on a spinning rod, and you'll get that bait way out there. But just make sure you got a slightly more powerful spinning rod so that when you do need to lay the hook into those fish, you got the power that you need out at the end of the cast. So I hope you like this video. If you have any questions about fishing a dark sleeper, also if you fish a dark sleeper and you got a really good technique and setup, throw that in the comments. People are going to check it. I mean, there's so many different ways to fish this bait. There's not one right or wrong way. This is just the way that I do it, and it works for me, but I'm sure there's a lot of other cool ways that people fish this bait. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Until the next video, we will see you around real soon. Thank you.